So in this video we're going to install these, and what I'm going to show you is how I do it. The instructions have a pretty detailed process, but I feel it's easy enough that I can kind of do my own thing and mount them properly. Now these lights, although they have the sockets here, they're not really plug and play. You will need to add these ballast resistors on the corner lights on right next to the headlight. So keep that in mind. You will need to add these, otherwise turn signal light will stay on and pretty much it won't blink, or it'll blink really fast. Also, if you have the rear LED lights, you will need to replace the flasher that is right next to the steering column, and you're going to be replacing it with a digital one, which comes in the kit as well. So you'll be replacing this as well. If you have the rear lights done, you probably have to replace both the hazards and the flasher by the column. So just keep that in mind. Both of them are included, but for whatever reason, in some cars it works and sometimes it doesn't. In some cars it doesn't. On mine, it seems to work without this on the flasher for the hazards, and on some other people's cars it seems to work with just this and nothing else in the ballast resistors. So don't ask me what's going on there. I'm not sure, but yeah, so that's kind of the forward here. They're somewhat plug and play. So before we start, I'm going to show you some old footage from some lights that I had worked on before. On those, I pretty much smoothed it out, removed that texture off the lens, and installed a set of these, but at the same time they're tinted, so they give it a really sleek look, and it's kind of what I liked. Some people may not like it. These are going to Israel, and he wanted them orange, so I'll show you guys that footage and then we'll carry on to this. If you watched my last video, you pretty much saw how I made the smooth lens on this. It's actually kind of dirty since I just finished cutting this, but anyway, you can see they're really nice and clean. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm gonna show you how to do this. So I already went ahead and marked this light over here. The instructions do come with a template, and I find it to be a little harder than what it needs to be. So pretty much all I do is just put the lights up there and mark my lines. In here, you can sort of see it there. There's a little standoff. So you need to make these cuts far back enough where the light will not hit that bottom standoff, because you can't really cut it off, and then you'd have to install it kind of at an angle. Instead of being straight in, it would be kind of cocked. So just keep that in mind when you mark your lights. And pretty much what I'm gonna use to cut them is gonna be one of those plastic cutting wheels on my really cheap Kawasaki wannabe Dremel. I bought this whole thing, God, maybe 10 years ago for like 20 bucks. Nowadays, Dremels are pretty decently priced. You can get like a home gamer level Dremel for about 40, 50 bucks. And then you buy one of these kits for 20, and you get a pretty decent Dremel kit, which will allow you to do this and also work on the rear lights if you want to do your third panel, or you just want to get crazy and modify something plastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark the other light, and then I'm gonna cut both. Since I showed you guys how to do it on the old lights, I don't feel that I need to record this one. So I'm gonna go ahead, trim them, and continue on. Now, I've marked both lights, and the reason why you see me putting these numbers here is because these tabs are not equally spaced on both lights. If you put them side by side here, you see how that is about 1/8 of an inch, and this has about 1/4 of an inch, and it's the same on both cases. So when you go trim the light, you're gonna have to take that into account. And here you can see how this one's a lot closer, this one's not. The whole point of doing that is to get the closest cut that you can, because then you're gonna have to come back and actually seal these in there with RTV. So you don't want to have a gigantic gap, but at the same time you want to have enough clearance for the bracket and the LEDs in this area, and then you want to have enough clearance for the LEDs in this area. Another thing is, and again, this is preference, this is how I do it, I like to trim down. I like to trim down in this area right here. I don't cut all the way through, I just trim it down about a 1/16 of an inch, if that. And the whole purpose of that is for this to sit in there and the bottom of the light to go a little bit lower. It won't touch, but it'll give you a cleaner look, and it'll also bring this further down. So once you secure it, it'll sit flush at all of this level rather than a little higher, and then you have full contact with the brackets here. Again, I'm going to use this Dremel cutting wheel. It's a quick attach or something like that, easy lock, that's what it's called. Now you don't really need this one. You could use the regular one where it's just a cutting wheel with a little hole and a screw, but I got this, makes my life easier. So yeah, just kind of the disclaimer, you don't need these. You'd rather have them just to facilitate the project for yourself. Don't forget your safety goggles. So here they are cut up. Now I'm gonna go with one of these little snips and cut the ends, take them out, run a file on them, make them really nice, and then start test fitting the panels. Now, see all this roughness, most of it can be knocked out with just a screwdriver, like so. And then what doesn't want to cooperate, you can come back with a knife and just trim it. That gets you pretty good, but then I'm gonna hit it with a file just to smooth out whatever's left. That way it has really nice sharp corners in there. And it just looks cleaner. So with the file you can actually take that off. I've done all the trimming, still got to clean up some of this leftover trimmings, but otherwise these pretty much will sit in there flush, and doop, and there we go. So sitting in there flush, and now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna prep the surface here, because all of this is gonna get RTV'd over. And I'm going to put a plug here, and plugs in the back, and then RTV all of it. But before I can do any of that, I have to clean on the inside. I'm going to wash them with some water and a little bit of soap to get rid of all the dust from the cutting. Now, in the package you get these little plugs, covers, whatever you want to call them. They sent 4 of these, but only 2 of these you're going to be able to use because the holes in the rear are pretty big. So what's going to happen here is that I'm going to put some RTB on the bottom of this, plug it in there, and Same on this side. Put it in there, plug it on, let it cure. And after I have those two installed, I'm gonna come by with the light panels, stick them in there, and RTV all of it together. So this is the part where you wanna wear gloves. I have the box of gloves right there, and I completely forgot to put them on, so let's get messy. And two's on. Now, remember the number, which one you took off. Again, this is just a matter of preference. You don't have to do that. If you cut the holes big enough, you can have them both fit the same, or maybe you get lucky and these are spaced the same on both of your panels. Either way, whichever way works for you. And pretty much this is what they look like right before you RTV all of it. When you mark them, you got to make sure that they're centered. As you can see, they're offset from each other, just a hair, but enough to be noticeable. So if you were to put them this way, you should be able to see that they're perfectly aligned with each other now. And yeah, so now just cake on the RTV. Now, before you put the RTV on, you might want to put the screws on here. That way they're squeezed down already, and you can just RTV around your brackets. Now, on some of these, since I time-lapsed it, you weren't able to tell, but you pretty much drill as soon as you break through the aluminum, then you back up, clean the hole pretty much with the screw itself, and then you drive it into the plastic. That way the aluminum won't stop the screw from turning, and if you keep pushing through the aluminum, then you'll strip the plastic. So just keep that in mind when you put these in. You want the screw to actually grab the plastic and not strip it. So you can pre-drill the holes a little bigger than the screw and then put it in, but at the same time, just keep in mind the plastic is underneath. You could do this before, you could do this after. I find it easier this way. I've already done it a few times, so this is the easiest way I figured it out. I figured I'd just point that out for you guys. And now it's gonna be RTV all over. Now, before I forget, for the back, you can use these grommets. You can get these at the auto parts store, and pretty much the right size. All I'm going to do is put a little bit of RTV right in the center to close it off. Pretty much these are done now. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you will still need to install these ballast resistors on the corner lights. Now I just got to let this cure, put it in a box, send it to Israel, and I guess at a later date we'll get a little preview of what they look like running. So this is pretty much the installation for this. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, hit the like button.